The movie begins on the rugged island of 𝐵𝐸, a place known for its harsh living conditions. According to the narration provided by Hiccup, the island is nearly impossible to live on comfortably. However, the most pressing issue for its inhabitants isn't the cold or the terrain, it's the constant threat of dragon attacks. These fierce creatures frequently raid the village, and during one such attack, a large group of dragons descends upon 𝐵𝐸, causing chaos and stealing livestock, particularly the sheep. In response, the villagers spring into action. The defense is led by Chief 𝐒𝐲𝐧𝐸𝐬𝐬, a powerful and commanding figure who also happens to be Hiccup's father. Eager to prove himself and gain the respect of the tribe, Hiccup longs to fight alongside the other Vikings. Unfortunately, his attempts are often clumsy and counterproductive, leading many to view him as more of a burden than a help during these battles. Meanwhile, the village's teenage warriors are already actively involved in dragon fighting efforts. Among them are 𝐒𝐲𝐧𝐸𝐬𝐬, the self-assured brawler, the wild and unpredictable twin siblings, Roughnut and Toughnut, the brainy and enthusiastic Fishlegs, and Astrid, the most admired and capable of the group. Astrid not only stands out as a skilled fighter but also holds Hiccup's quiet admiration. All of them are being trained in combat techniques by 𝐫𝐸𝐬𝐬, the seasoned blacksmith and dragon expert. Hiccup approaches one of his homemade contraptions, a specially designed bolus launcher, created in hopes of helping defend the village. As the battle rages above, a night fury suddenly appears in the sky. Known as the most elusive, dangerous, and mysterious of all dragon species, the Night Fury unleashes a powerful, glowing blast at the village, intensifying the chaos below. Seizing the rare opportunity to make a difference, Hiccup aims his invention at the dark figure soaring overhead. With determination, he fires the bolus, and to his astonishment, he actually manages to hit the Night Fury, something no one has ever done before. However, before he can process what he's accomplished, the noise and movement draw the attention of another dragon flying nearby. This new dragon locks onto Hiccup and begins pursuing him aggressively through the village. Just as it seems Hiccup is about to be caught, his father, Chief 𝐒𝐲𝐽, intervenes. With years of combat experience and brute strength, 𝐒𝐲𝐽 steps in and fights off the attacking dragon, ultimately saving his son from harm. Despite Hiccup's intentions, the outcome of the battle is far from victorious. The dragons retreat into the night, successfully making off with the village's livestock. After the raid, a frustrated and angry 𝐒𝐲𝐽 scolds Hiccup, blaming him for getting in the way and hindering the village's coordinated efforts to fight back. Hiccup, feeling defeated, later confides in 𝐫𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐬, the village blacksmith and his mentor. With a heavy heart, Hiccup expresses his deep desire to be accepted and to prove himself. He simply wants to be like the other Vikings, brave and respected, instead of being seen as a failure or an outsider. 𝐒𝐲𝐽 convenes a council meeting with the village's other Viking leaders to discuss their ongoing efforts against the dragons. Their mission has been to locate and destroy the dragon's hidden nest, believing that wiping it out would put an end to the relentless attacks on 𝐵𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐬. However, after many failed attempts and no sign of the nest, the warriors are growing weary and disheartened, their spirits beginning to falter. In response to their fading morale, 𝐒𝐲𝐽 delivers a passionate and motivational speech, rallying the group and reigniting their determination. He also listens carefully to the silent guidance of the village's respected elder, 𝐒𝐲𝐽𝐬, whose gestures and wisdom help reinforce his resolve. Strengthened by the moment, 𝐒𝐲𝐽 makes the decision to once again mobilize his ships and lead a new expedition in search of the dragon's lair. Before setting sail, 𝐒𝐲𝐽 shares a private conversation with 𝐫𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐬, his longtime friend and trusted advisor. Their discussion turns to Hiccup, and 𝐒𝐲𝐽 openly expresses his concern about his son's role within the tribe. He worries that Hiccup simply isn't cut out for the rough and demanding life of a Viking warrior. 𝐫𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐬, however, offers a different perspective. He suggests that 𝐒𝐲𝐽 allow Hiccup to join the other teens in dragon training, believing that it might give the boy a real chance to prove himself and perhaps find his own unique path to belonging. Determined to prove his worth and show that he can be a true Viking, Hiccup ventures alone into the forest with a mission to find the Night Fury he believes he hit during the recent dragon raid. After searching for some time, he stumbles upon the dragon lying helplessly in a clearing, tangled in the net fired from Hiccup's own invention. As he cautiously approaches the downed creature, Hiccup raises his knife, ready to finish what he started and claim his victory. But when he looks into the dragon's eyes, something changes. Instead of reacting with rage or fear, the Night Fury gazes back at him calmly, almost as if resigned to its fate. Moved by the creature's expression and realizing he doesn't have the heart to kill it, Hiccup makes an unexpected decision. He cuts the ropes and sets the dragon free. The Night Fury roars ferociously in Hiccup's face before launching into the sky. However, its flight is unstable and unsteady. One of its tail fins is damaged, making it unable to fly properly. Hiccup watches it disappear into the distance, conflicted but also strangely at peace with his choice. When he returns to the village, Hiccup is met by his father, 𝐒𝐲𝐽𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬, who informs him that he will be starting dragon training with the other village teens. Hiccup is hesitant and uncertain about this new path, especially after his unexpected encounter with the dragon, which has already begun to challenge everything he thought he knew. Eager to prove his bravery and gain the respect of his fellow Vikings, Hiccup ventures into the forest in search of the elusive Night Fury, the dragon he believes he successfully brought down during the recent attack. After some time, he discovers the creature lying on the ground, ensnared in the net from his own invention. Cautiously, Hiccup approaches the dragon, weapon in hand, intending to finish the job and earn his place among the warriors of 𝐵𝐵𝐸. However, as he gets closer and locks eyes with the creature, something unexpected happens. The Night Fury doesn't fight or struggle, instead, it looks back at him calmly, seemingly accepting its fate. Struck by the dragon's quiet vulnerability, Hiccup finds himself unable to go through with the kill. In a moment of compassion, he chooses to free the dragon rather than harm it. Upon being released, the Night Fury lets out a thunderous roar in Hiccup's face before taking to the skies. However, its flight is unstable. One of its tail fins is damaged, leaving it unable to fly properly. Later, when Hiccup returns to the village, his father, 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬, informs him that he will be starting formal dragon training alongside the other teens. Despite this opportunity to prove himself in the traditional Viking way, Hiccup is hesitant, his recent experience with the Night Fury now weighing heavily on his mind. Hiccup joins the rest of the village teens, Roughnut, Toughnut, Snotlout, Astrid, and Fishlegs, for their first official session of dragon training, led by 𝐫𝐵𝐸. This particular session, known as the Trial of Flame, marks the beginning of their hands-on experience with real dragons. Right from the start, Hiccup becomes the target of ridicule from most of the group. The others, except for the more sympathetic Fishlegs, openly mock him for his lack of physical strength and his history of clumsy failures, considering him more of a joke than a fellow warrior. Tired of being the butt of their jokes, Hiccup fires back with sarcasm, pointing out that Roughnut and Toughnut had to repeat dragon training, and mocking Snotlout by saying his name is even more ridiculous than his own. For their first test, 𝐫𝐵𝐸 pits the group against a dragon known as the gruesome 𝐒𝐲𝐧𝐸𝐬𝐬, a bulky but surprisingly clever creature. The teens quickly find themselves outmatched by the dragon's cunning and unpredictable behavior. Chaos erupts in the training arena as the 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬 gets the better of them. Ultimately, it's 𝐫𝐵𝐸 who has to step in and subdue the dragon, wrangling it back into its cage before anyone gets seriously hurt. Hiccup ventures back into the forest in search of the Night Fury. He eventually spots the dragon again and watches from a distance as it struggles to fly properly due to its injured tail. Moved by the sight, Hiccup begins to understand that the creature is in pain and unable to survive as it once did. Later that evening, Hiccup rejoins 𝐫𝐵𝐸 and the other teens during their shared meal. 𝐫𝐵𝐸 distributes the Book of Dragons, a guide to the various dragon species, encouraging the group to study it to better prepare for their training. During a quiet moment, Hiccup tries to speak with Astrid, cautiously suggesting that there may be more to dragons than the Vikings realize, hinting at the idea that their enemies might not be as savage as they seem. However, Astrid remains dismissive of his thoughts. Ambitious and determined to one day become chief, she views Hiccup's unconventional ideas as a distraction and possibly even a threat to her goals. In their next training session, the teens are faced with another test, confronting a deadly natter, a sharp and agile dragon known for its speed and precision. The encounter proves to be another tough challenge, as the dragon easily outmaneuvers them, highlighting how much they still have to learn. Meanwhile, 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬 and his band of Viking warriors are far from 𝐵𝐵𝐸, navigating a thick, mist-covered section of the river during their voyage. Their journey is interrupted when a small group of dragons suddenly ambushes their fleet. The Vikings quickly spring into action, engaging in battle to defend their ships from the surprise attack. Hiccup eventually finds the Night Fury alone in the forest and cautiously approaches him, offering a fish as a peace gesture. As he watches the dragon eat, he notices something unusual: its teeth retract when not in use. Fascinated by this trait, Hiccup decides to give the dragon a name, Toothless. In a surprising gesture of trust, Toothless spits out the head of the fish and nudges it toward Hiccup, seemingly offering it as a gift. Though hesitant and slightly disgusted, Hiccup accepts the offering and takes a bite to show goodwill. As they continue spending time together, a bond gradually forms between them. Eventually, Toothless allows Hiccup to gently place his hand on his snout, a clear sign that the dragon now trusts him. Back in the village, Hiccup gets to work on creating a prosthetic tail fin to replace the damaged one Toothless lost. After attaching the new fin, Toothless is finally able to take to the skies again. However, because the fin requires manual control, Hiccup must ride with him and adjust it mid-flight, guiding Toothless through the air and helping him maintain balance and direction. During their next dragon training session, the teens are tasked with facing a hideous 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬, a rare and dangerous dragon with two heads, one that releases thick smoke and another that ignites it. As the creature cloaks the arena in heavy clouds, the teens scramble to evade it. To everyone's surprise, Hiccup cleverly drives the dragon away by using a smoke deal, having previously noticed that Toothless reacted strongly and fearfully to the smell of one. Hiccup continues to meet with Toothless in secret, working to improve the dragon's flying abilities with the prosthetic tail fin. In the process, he also gains valuable insight into how to handle other dragons in the training ring. Using his growing knowledge, he cleverly exploits 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬's allergies to throw it off, and discovers that scratching the back of a deadly natter's neck makes it calmer. These smart tactics quickly earn him the admiration of Snotlout, Fishlegs, and the twin troublemakers, Roughnut and Toughnut. However, Astrid, still skeptical of him, becomes increasingly suspicious of how he's improving so quickly. His unconventional methods continue when he uses a beam of reflected sunlight to distract and tame a small terrible terror, though not before it bites Toughnut's nose. Even Elder Gothy, the village's wise elder, takes notice of Hiccup's rapid progress in training. Later, Hiccup prepares for another flight with Toothless, bringing along a cheat sheet of instructions to help control the dragon's new tail mechanism. They climb high into the sky, soaring above Berk's landscapes, but a sudden gust causes the sheet to slip from his hands. Without the guide, the pair momentarily lose control and plummet. At the last moment, Hiccup regains his composure, relying on instinct rather than notes. Discarding the cheat sheet entirely, he works in perfect sync with Toothless, and together they glide, dive, and soar freely through the skies, their bond stronger than ever. 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬 returns to the island of Berk accompanied by the remaining members of his fleet. He is taken aback when he hears about Hiccup's surprising progress and newfound skills. Expressing a mixture of pride and expectation, 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬 tells his son that for his final trial, he must prove himself by killing a dragon. Feeling overwhelmed by the pressure, Hiccup decides to flee with Toothless, seeking to avoid the deadly test. However, Astrid, determined and curious, tracks him down to their secret hiding place. There, she discovers Toothless, the very night Fury Hiccup has been hiding. To demonstrate that Toothless poses no threat, Hiccup and Astrid take her on a flight, giving her a first-hand experience of the dragon's gentle nature. When Astrid sincerely apologizes to Toothless for doubting him, the dragon softens, allowing her to enjoy flying as freely as Hiccup has. Shortly afterward, Toothless leads them toward a distant island, where they encounter a large gathering of dragons returning to their home. It is here that Hiccup and Astrid come face to face with the Queen of the Dragons, the terrifying Red Death. The mood darkens when one of the 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬s fails to bring enough food, prompting the Red Death to emerge in full force and devour the unfortunate dragon. Returning to Berk, Astrid is eager to share the discovery of the dragon's nest with the rest of the Vikings, but Hiccup hesitates, fearing that revealing its location will put Toothless' life in grave danger, as the village will likely move to destroy the dragons once and for all. The following day, Hiccup faces off against a fierce monstrous nightmare dragon, known for its ability to engulf itself in flames. As Hiccup attempts to prove to the Vikings that this dragon isn't as dangerous as they believe, 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬 inadvertently triggers the creature to go wild, causing it to rampage wildly through the arena. Sensing the danger, Toothless swoops in to defend Hiccup by engaging the monstrous nightmare in battle. Despite Hiccup's desperate pleas, the other Vikings intervene and manage to overpower Toothless, capturing him. Frustrated, 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬 drags Hiccup aside and confronts him angrily, accusing him of abandoning their long-held traditions. Hiccup boldly insists that it's time for their people to stop killing dragons altogether. In the heat of the argument, Hiccup accidentally reveals that he has discovered the location of the dragon's nest and that Toothless could lead the Vikings there. When Hiccup tries to stop him from acting on this information, 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬, in a fit of anger, disowns his son. As the Vikings set sail to find the nest, Astrid finds Hiccup alone, weighed down by guilt. He expresses deep regret for the predicament his best friend Toothless is in and fears that the Vikings are unknowingly marching into a deadly trap. Encouraged by Astrid's support, Hiccup gathers the other 4 teens and convinces them to use the captured dragons to fly towards the nest. Their goal is to rescue Toothless and save everyone from the impending danger. The Vikings arrive at the edge of the Dragon Island, standing before the massive entrance to the dragon's nest. 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐬 commands his warriors to use their weapons to break through the formidable walls guarding the lair. Once the barriers are shattered, the terrifying Red Death emerges, unleashing a devastating fiery assault that begins to engulf and destroy the Viking ships. In response, the village teens arrive riding their dragons, launching a daring distraction to divert the Red Death's attention away from the vulnerable Vikings. Among them is Snotlout's father, 𝐶𝐵𝐼𝐿𝐼, who for the first time shows genuine pride in his son's bravery and skill. Meanwhile, Hiccup rushes to free Toothless from his bindings. 𝐒𝐲𝐧𝐨𝐩𝐬, who witnesses his son's growth into a true leader throughout the battle, is moved and dives underwater to release Toothless after their ship sinks. In a moment of reconciliation, 𝐒𝐲𝐧𝐨𝐩𝐬 apologizes to Hiccup and entrusts him and Toothless with the task of confronting the Red Death. Together, Hiccup and Toothless ascend high into the sky, drawing the massive dragon upwards with a powerful blast. They rise above the clouds, but the Red Death retaliates with an enormous burst of fire that starts to scorch the prosthetic tail fin Toothless relies on for flight. Thinking quickly, Hiccup and Toothless dive sharply toward the ground, with the Red Death in hot pursuit. At the perfect moment, Hiccup commands Toothless to unleash a blast directly into the dragon's open mouth. The resulting explosion causes the Red Death to catch fire and crash violently against the side of a mountain, erupting into a massive fireball. Caught in the blast, Hiccup falls, but Toothless swoops in just in time to catch him, saving his life and cementing their unbreakable bond. As the smoke and flames finally settle, the Vikings gather around the fallen Toothless, who lies motionless on the ground. 𝐒𝐲𝐧𝐨𝐩𝐬, filled with regret for the harsh words he had spoken to his son, is overcome with sorrow and begins to grieve. But then, to everyone's relief, Toothless reveals that he had saved Hiccup's life during the final battle. Hearing this, 𝐒𝐲𝐧𝐨𝐸𝐬 and the other Vikings erupt into cheers, celebrating that Hiccup has survived. A few days later, Hiccup awakens at home to find that he has lost his right foot and now wears a prosthetic limb. Despite the injury, he is comforted by the presence of Toothless, who greets him warmly. Hiccup is further amazed to discover that the Vikings have returned to Berk riding dragons, and that the entire island has embraced these once feared creatures, forging a newfound friendship with them. Astrid soon finds Hiccup and shares a tender kiss, marking the beginning of their romantic relationship. Meanwhile, Dabur presents Toothless with an upgraded prosthetic fin, restoring his ability to fly alongside Hiccup. Later, the group of teens takes to the skies with their dragons, soaring above the island in joyful flight. Hiccup's voiceover closes the story by reflecting that although Berk remains a challenging place to live, its greatest treasure now is the dragons.